Okay.
I do
So,
have a question.
yes.
This is Mary. I do have a question, and it's more of a social question, and maybe not entirely related, but I was curious, um, with these important houses forming the different tribes, was child mortality a big problem? Like, for example, with Henry VIII, everything he did to try and secure an heir. Uh, did the Israelite tribes have the same problems with losing heirs and children to pass the family lines down to?
I don't know. Henry-viii, he was the King of England, and he did have to have an heir, and he wanted an heir because everyone wants an heir. Every man likes to have an heir. It's a natural instinct. And in his case, it was important for the sake of the kingdom, because in his time, they were always fighting. One king would die without a clear-cut succession, so they leave behind him a nephew here, an uncle there, and they'd fight each other, and then the kingdoms would be destroyed, would be disrupted, the whole of it. The lives of millions of people, or the whole realm, would be affected, so it was important for the sake of the realm that he have an heir. Apart from that, it wasn't a paragon of virtue in other ways. He did things that we would not agree with, but that's the way it goes. That is history. Concerning the tribes, so too the tribes. The tribes were not, all of them were not saints. They weren't all do-gooders. They looked after their own interests, and they did the best they could for themselves, but they often did it in such a way that it was better for everyone else in the long run. And we also have a divine providence directs things in for that purpose. It might be that God Almighty so wanted that a person like Henry-viii should come to the throne, that he should have a problem bringing a male heir into the world. And he would deal with it as in the limitations that were before him. He thought was the only way he could deal with it. That set off a whole series of events that may have been for the better, because he wanted an heir in the end of the Protestant Reformation took place. And a lot of changes in civilization were affected. Some of them were not for the better, and others were. That is the way the world goes ahead. So that is that more or less answers the question, I think, Mary. Yeah.
My question is, was child mortality as big a problem for the tribes with their diet, kosher diet, and the ways that they lived? Was child mortality lower because of this? Because it seems from what I read that child mortality and securing heirs was not as big a problem for the tribes. Is that possible? Is that, completely off base?
No, our blessings, God promises the Israelites that if they go in the right path, if they go on the right track, then he would bless them. He would bless the fruit of their bodies, that is, their offspring, that they would be healthy, and that they would be quite a few of them. There would be numerous, and he would watch over them. And it could be that on the whole, this is what happened. But we can't say in each and every case if this was what happened or not. We also know that there were periods, for instance, the Jews, we have a lot of information of the Jews. So there were periods when the whole population of Europe diminished. People had less children. The children were not growing to fruition. And this happened several generations until there were less and less people. And there were less and less Jews and less Gentiles. But somehow or other changes took place because of this, and then there were changes for the better, then the opposite. The opposite tendency came into existence. It goes up and it goes down. This is the way of the world. But there is a promise. There's a promise that God in the Bible does say that if you follow his path and believe in him, he will help you. He will help you, and he will bless the fruit of your womb, and he will help you have children, and help your children be healthy and grow up. So it doesn't mean that everyone merits for this. But on the whole, that is the way. That is the way things go. There are also amongst the Jews, we have very many people, great rabbis, very good people who suffered a lot in their lives. They were sick, their children died, and this and that. But on the whole, statistically, those who went along the straight and narrow, they did receive a blessing in the long run. This has been proven. And so we have to believe and trust in God Almighty that he will show us what has to be done, and believe that he knows better than us what is for the better for all of us.
In that case, okay, go ahead. We're now recording for your questions and comments from Yair.
Has anyone any questions or any comments about the lost ten tribes? Okay.
I agree with Lowell that what is happening in Britain and in Europe, especially Britain and Ireland right now, is very profound and exciting. And I go on YouTube every day to see the videos that they're putting out. It's very encouraging, but I do need people to go on with me to make comments and explain what is happening. That it is the 10 tribes, that Ephraim is rising up. But if you're not watching on YouTube, you need to go and find some videos about the raising the flag and so on. It's very exciting, and what a time to be living in. And finally, we're getting to see that what Lowell was describing actually happening.
So on the big picture is that we saw Judah as a part of my talk, the talk that I'm about to give concerns the conquest of the land. And Judah, first Joshua from the tribe of Ephraim, he began the conquest of the land of Canaan after the death of Moses, and he was followed by the tribe of Judah. And so too, historically, we see that the British, they liberated the area of Palestine, so-called Palestine, from the Turks, from the Ottoman Turks. And then they had the Balfour Declaration, and they enabled Judah to begin to resettle the area. And so we had a whole development. On the whole, the British favored the Zionist enterprise, but they were wavering here and there. They were wavering. There were all kinds of problems. The big picture is that the Jewish population grew from about 20,000 to 600,000 as the British were here. They were healthy and educated, and they had the whole infrastructure for the future state of Israel when the British left. And the British must have some credit for that. After that, we had the USA. USA also represents Ephraim, or represents Joseph in general. Joseph is the two tribes of Manasseh and Ephraim, and they intermix and they interplay with each other. And on occasions, the USA takes the task of Ephraim. Other occasions, this is Britain. At all events, the USA helped stabilize the state of Israel, helped it in its recent problems. We had a very powerful nation, Gentile nation, Iran, through its proxies, through its Arab proxies, threatening the state of Israel, perturbing the state of Israel, terrorizing the state of Israel. And the state of Israel was unable to defeat them, to conquer them, to go after them, and not only after them, to go after all their helpers around the Houthi in Lebanon, the Hisbollah in Lebanon, the Houthi in Yemen, also to the Syrians, the Syrian proxies of Russia, were also de-established, and Iran itself was attacked, and all the military aggressive apparatus of Persia, of Iran, was dismantled, destroyed. Nuclear capabilities were destroyed, and its specialists, its scientists, its nuclear people were disposed of very efficiently, and that is what Judah did, that with the help of Ephraim, with the help of America, with the backing of America, and with the physical assistance, participation of America. So here we had Judah and Joseph working together to defend the state of Israel, to defend the Jewish settlement in this area. And this Jewish settlement is considered to be a forerunner for the settlement alongside them of all the rest of the tribes of Israel. And that is, in effect, that's what we are in the midst of. That is what we are in the midst of at this present day.